Hey everyone, I'm Ron Cantor, and this is the 8 Days of Passover from a Messianic perspective, brought to you by Ma'oz Israel. Now, one of the great challenges of a Passover Seder, especially if it's one of those 4-hour mega Seders, is to keep the children interested. And I remember growing up, my favorite part of the Seder was when I got to stick, because I was kind of a messy kid, and when I got to actually stick my finger in the wine and then kind of just drop the wine on my plate. That was cool, and we got to do it 10 times. Now, why do we do that? We stick our finger in the wine and we put drops of wine on our plate to remember the 10 plagues of Egypt. Now, we do that with a heart of sadness, not rejoicing, look what God did to them, but more sadness that the Egyptian people had to suffer. Now, it's interesting to note that every single one of the plagues was a rebuke against the Egyptian gods. For instance, when God turned the sun to darkness, he was saying that Ra, the sun god, is no god. Or when he sent them frogs, you probably didn't know it, but Isis, the god of fertility, came to them in the form of a frog. Now, I don't know why you would want to worship something that had to do with fertility that looked like a frog, but I'll leave that to the ancient Egyptians. Now, next, the Nile River. The Nile River was their god of life because that was their drinking water, as well as the fact that it brought life and fertility to everything around it. God turned it to blood. Now, you can't drink a river full of blood and you can't grow crops with it. God mocked the Egyptian gods. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the plagues and we're going to dip our finger in the wine glass. Well, I'm going to get to do it. You can do it at home if you want. And we're going to recite the different plagues. Okay, here we go. Dam, which means blood. Svardea, which means frogs. Kinim, lice. Arov, which was the swarms of flies. Dever, sickness on the cattle. Shchin, which means blisters or boils. Barad, that was the hail mixed with fire. Arbe, those are locusts. Choshech, that means darkness. And then the last plague, Makat Bechorot, the slaying of the firstborn.